This is part 5 of the Faith First System series, and we're going to be talking about finances are the fence today. Before I get to that next slide, I've been I've done the first few videos, and one was 10 minutes or 11 minutes, and one was 12, and the fight video was just 18 minutes. So this video will not be 18 minutes. It will not be that long. It's interesting. I follow this. I'm subscribed to this YouTuber named Aston CEO, and every video he says it's only going to take me 5 minutes to tell you about this thing, and the video will be like 25 minutes long. I still end up watching a lot of the videos, but it's always interesting. I was previously saying to myself, why does he say 5 minutes every time, and then it's 20? And now I went into these videos sure they were going to be 6 to 8 minute videos, and they're getting longer and longer. This one will not be 18 though. I will redo it shorter if I have to. So whatever version you're seeing will not be 18 minutes. This is the Faith First System. Go back to the previous videos to see exactly what that is, where I came up with it. But essentially, there are 5 most important parts of life, and I compare these to the 5 parts of a field, where you would have faith as the foundation, you have family as the floor, fight as the frame of the house, then you have finances being the fence, and fitness being the finish. Today, we're going to be talking on this video about why finances are the fence. The 3 principles that I keep going over that are really important to think about when it comes to these 5 highest priority areas of life is that first, you want to really, as much as possible, get rid of the things surrounding those 5 things that aren't really related to them in your life, and free up space to spend more time on the most important areas of life. So you then begin to make decisions based on that specific order. First faith, then family, fight, finances, and finally fitness. In the next video, we'll talk about why fitness is last, but in this video, we'll be talking more about finances. The other thing to think about here is that where necessary, there are times where you may need to neglect things in these lower priority areas in favor of things in higher priority areas. If there's a family emergency, then no, I might not get to go do my powerlifting workout. And so the family emergency is more important than the powerlifting workout, and vice versa. Again, the priority part of all of this makes it easier to make decisions because you know, hey, I've got to do this thing over here for my sister. Well, that means I can't do this thing for work, but she's more important than the work. So it makes it easier for me to make decisions, at least. And I think it might be something that's helpful for you. Today, we're talking about finances being the fence and what that means exactly. When you think about a fence, it is a boundary generally around your home that really dictates how large your yard is and how large the property is. And so you may see where I'm going with this. The larger your fence, the larger the property is. And so when we're thinking about finances, I think it is a comparable idea that the better off you are financially, the more space you're able to do a lot of things that maybe previously you wouldn't have the ability to do. This is a really tiny fence on the side of someone's home that's really for probably a dog to run around in. But if they were able to extend that fence, the dog would have more room to run around. And so having more puts you in a position to extend the boundaries of what you're able to do. I think the other piece to this is the larger your fence, that also gives you more space or more property area to make additions to your house, let's say. So there are more things that you could do, let's say, from a fight perspective when your finances are in a better place. But it doesn't mean finances are more important than fight, at least not in my book. So you might be thinking, okay, so finances are important. What do I do to improve my finances? Well, here's the framework within the framework. I use the acronym GAVE to think about what I need to focus on when it comes to improving things financially. And GAVE the GAVE stand for generous giving, abundance mindset, value creation, and education. So we'll talk about what each one of those things means. Why is generous giving first? Well, again, I'm a Christian, so I think in terms of scripture. And There are all kinds of scriptures you could think of. The one who sows sparingly will reap sparingly. The one who sows bountifully will reap bountifully. There are just all kinds of things I think of. I think of a man who's who died several years ago that I used to worship with, named Bill Bruce. And one of the things he used to say is that you can't outgive God. And I don't think he came up with that, but there are many people that say something very similar, because it's true. You cannot outgive God. And so when you're thinking in terms of being a good steward with your finances, even one of the early things you should be thinking about is generous giving. And so this is not something to do, well, oh, okay, well, once I get my finances together, then I will be generous in my giving. Then I'll tip that waitress. Then I'll give to that charity or to that uh, cause that's important to me. No, you give generously now in whatever way that means. You give now. Uh, Certainly, a weekly collection of the congregation that you're a part of. You do that now when you don't have as much. And if you're wanting to see things improve financially, you need to think in terms of generous giving. Next is abundance mindset. This is an important one because it is very common to come across people who would have more of a scarcity and fear-based mindset rather than an abundance or faith-based mindset. And so here are several differences between the way someone with a scarcity mindset would say things or think things versus someone with an abundance mindset. And so if you win, I lose. There's this zero-sum game thought when it comes to the world, that the world is like a pie. And if I get a bigger piece of the pie, that means you have to have a smaller piece of the pie. But that's just not true. We can all win. The world is not really a pie. We're going to talk about value creation next. But if you understand that value is created, then there's no sense that of there being a set pie that's a certain size. And if I get a big piece, that means you have to have a smaller piece. No, because it's not a pie. So those with a scarcity mindset are generally pessimistic about the future. They might feel cautious and fearful. They think maybe they need to have all the answers rather than being generous, as we just talked about, being thankful, being optimistic about the future, being open-minded. And so having an abundance mindset is an important idea, because if you don't think you can do better financially because everybody's out to get you, or I need to be stingy to get what I can get, then again, this is the idea of being sparing in what you sow. If you don't believe that there's plenty out here, way more than you could even possibly consume or have and be happy, then it's going to be very easy for you to continue to have scarce resources rather than eventually abundant resources. Now, the next thing is value creation. This is Henry Ford, one of the great, he started one of the great car companies ever. And his quote here is that the only true test of values, either of men or of things, is that of their ability to make the world a better place in which to live. If you want to improve finances, increase finances, you have to figure out how to create value. And Henry Ford's definition of value here is making the world a better place in which to live. And what that really includes is a lot of different things that you might not have thought about when you thought about value creation. Maybe you thought, I need to just go sell this thing. And that might be true. But even if you're selling a thing, you want to make sure that it's actually providing value to people, because there are scammers out here trying to sell you things, or trying to get you to give them your bank account number and so that they can steal from you. But we're talking about value creation. And because when you couple that with abundance mindset and generosity, what you see is that we can actually create more value increasingly in the world, and that value eventually finds its way back to you as well. And so we want to be finding ways to make the world a better place in which to live. And if you get better and better at that, you will see your finances improve. Then the fourth thing is education. And so a lot of times, at least in America, we don't really like to talk about money. We don't like to talk about investing and retirement funds and those kinds of things. But it is in education that when you couple that with generosity, abundance mindset, and value creation, really puts you in a position to be very well off financially, particularly in this time in the history of the world. It's probably not ever been easier to get information about money, and it's not been easier to generate more income for oneself or generate wealth. And so being educated about that is really important. Christ said that the sons of this age are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. He was telling the story about an unrighteous steward when he said that, when he made that statement. And again, a lot of times people of faith don't have much education about money or about investing in that type of thing. And so he seemed to be somewhat lamenting that when he made that statement. But being educated about money, and there are all kinds of resources, all kinds of YouTube things that you could watch and find and Google. Increasing your educational understanding of money and wealth will put you in a better position to improve your finances. So today's video should be a little bit shorter than these other ones have been. Finances are the fence. If you want to improve or enlarge the things that you're able to do, particularly with your fight, you want to be able to do more things, be and accomplish certain missions or purposes, then increasing and improving finances is a way to certainly expand things and make it easier. And so the way I would suggest thinking about that is this GAVE framework, GAVE, generous giving, abundance mindset, value creation, and education. Next video in this series, the final video, will be about fitness. Fitness is coming in last. You might think, well, shouldn't fitness be before money, or fitness be before your fight? And you need to get yourself right before you can help other people and do these kinds of things. We'll talk about that in the next video. But as far as I can tell, fitness should be in that fifth position. It's still very important, but it's not as important, for example, as finances. So until next time, thanks for watching.